pursue science is not to disparage the things of the spirit. In fact, to pursue science rightly is to furnish the framework on which the spirit may rise.
Welcome to the Endless Frontiers, your home for all things science, fiction, and science fiction. I'm your host, Jed Morgan, and welcome into episode 35 of the Write or Flight podcast. It's great to have you all here today. I hope you're all having a wonderful Monday evening. My Monday has been a rather slow one, a nice leisurely one. Got to play some God of War a little bit earlier today, showing it off to my wife, and I got stuck in a single boss fight. One of the Valkyrie, that's all I did was try to fight that one Valkyrie. It's the one in Muspelheim from 2018, and I just threw myself against it over and over and over and over again. And I haven't beaten it yet. I had to take a break to set up the stream and hang out with all of you fine people. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing most of this evening until I finally beat it. But besides that, it's been absolutely a great day. Thank you all for joining me, whether it's on the YouTube side or the Kick side. It's great to have you here. I see Legatus Legionus, the mod supreme, is already doing the Lord's work on both YouTube and Kick. It's great to have you here, my friend. And I see Ginger Norseman is here saying, good evening, folks. Good evening, Ginger Norseman. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. I'm sure it's quite late where you're at, so welcome in. And Dash is here as well, but Legatus beat him to the 3-2-1 liftoff. Liftoff indeed. Ginger Norseman said, the Valkyrie, such a steep learning curve. Yes, absolutely. I have played God of War 2018, I think on God of War mode before. I'm doing the one just below God of War mode this time. And for the most part, I haven't had any trouble, but the Valkyries are just in a class all on their own, and then the Berserkers in the next game, Ragnarok. But they're so much fun. I actually don't mind throwing myself against a boss fight over and over again. Of course, it can get excessive. I need to take some breaks sometimes and come back to it a little bit more fresh. But I like being able to do that. I like being invested in a game and a story and characters, and then having a challenge. Those are the things that I really appreciate. That's why while Souls-like games and actual Souls games would be quite challenging, obviously, that's kind of what they're famous for. I don't have the investment in the characters, so it doesn't propel me to keep trying and trying over again. For example, Simon, the battle in Expedition 33, that boss fight was insanely difficult, and so was Clea. Those fights were so rewarding because of the characters that were involved in it. And Simon had a great story that we unraveled throughout the course of the side content of that game. So I really want to be invested in something, and that propels me to enjoy the challenge. And that's exactly what these Valkyrie fights are. So I don't mind that it's taking a long time. Dash says, Valkyrie's undefeated. Yes, the Valkyrie is undefeated so far. I've already beat one Valkyrie in a separate section, but this one is holding its own quite well against me. I get so close. Within one hit, I probably could take her out on like three different occasions, and it didn't quite work. But how's everyone doing? I know it's been a weird few days or few weeks with all the Odyssey stuff going on, and it's been sitting weird with me, if I'm being honest. I thought I had a better, tap on the pulse of normies, but obviously I don't. Normies are lapping up this movie from all accounts, so I guess I'm so insulated in different spheres, whether or not that's the YouTube sphere, whether or not that's the academic sphere who loves the original book, Odyssey in this case, or whatever spheres I might be a part of, it doesn't feel like any of them like this movie. Even my coworkers, that sphere didn't like this movie or have no interest in this movie. So it's weird. It's really, really weird. Like I found one person who loved it. Just one, and that person had to be sent to me directly. I talked about them last week, that person. Dash, the box office gods are fickle. Yes, the box office gods are fickle. We actually have some box office news to talk about, some stuff that came out today, actually, about another film. So we'll have that in the topics section. But yeah, the gods are they're making some strange choices. The gods are being fickle, fickle indeed. Why don't we give some blessings out in the chat, everyone? Can you drop some blessings for all of us? Just blessings to get through this week, to enjoy this week, and hopefully find some great content that we love. Because there's so much great content out there, whether it's old or kind of hidden amongst the weeds of new content. There's plenty of stuff to enjoy. So blessings that we can find content that we enjoy. That's what I've been doing with the Star Wars Expanded Universe. I got through the Truce of Bakra, that entire book, on Saturday. And it was a fun little story. It's very, very short, so that's not a huge accomplishment or anything like that. But I'm already invested. I finished the Thrawn trilogy, and I can't wait to keep going. And I got them all on audiobook. I'm listening to them as I drive to and from work. I feel more invested in Star Wars than I have since I was a child. It's really interesting because I thought I was over Star Wars. I wasn't interested. Even the original trilogy didn't hold any sway over me. But a Star Wars fire has been lit in me, which is a strange thing for me to say. Just all around, a very strange few weeks for me and the world at large. We could start with a quick topic. It's going to be ridiculously short. So let's start with the first one as we let more people cycle in here. Just a month after Jeff Bezos' inadvertent fireworks test with the Blue Origin New Glenn rocket, it looks like plans for the next Glenn rocket are going forward. They're still dedicated to their plan of supporting Artemis's mission and the moon lander that they've agreed to give NASA for that launch. And to facilitate that, NASA is going to help support Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket testing. So NASA's involved with the fireworks display at Jeff Bezos's compound. So they're all collaborating together to make this work as well as they can. It's an interesting situation. The testing is being moved. That's the primary thing about this. Is the testing is being moved to NASA's Stennis Space Center in St. Louis, Mississippi. So they're bringing the New Glenn testing to a NASA facility, going to help monitor it and hopefully prevent the explosive result of the last test from happening again. So who knows if New Glenn will truly get off the ground in the coming weeks, or if its moonlander will be the one eventually going with Artemis 4 back to the moon. We'll have to see, but NASA is taking a step in to help Jeff Bezos move forward with the New Glenn project. I told you. I told you that one was going to be ridiculously short. I didn't even bother recording that one separately. Ginger Norseman tends to help that Thrawn is such a good villain. Thrawn is an incredible villain. I love the Thrawn trilogy a lot because of his intelligence. Intelligence is one of the hardest things to write as an author because the old adage is your characters are only as smart as you are. holds true. Yes, you get to think about this stuff more than the characters. Like they have to be reactionary smart, whereas you can be prepared smart. But it still holds true that they're only as smart as you are yourself. So to see a character like Thrawn clearly be so intelligent from a justified perspective is great to see. From a scientific perspective, the Thrawn trilogy is the most scientifically accurate Star Wars out there that I've seen, at least. Like it is really stretched beyond the realm of space fantasy to tickle at soft sci-fi. I was really impressed by that, and he came up with some really interesting pieces of technology, like these devices that could rip a ship from hyperspace, and the Islamari, the cloning, diving into this alternate version of how the Clone Wars took place prior to George Lucas setting up his plans for those. I prefer all the backstory that they added in the Thrawn trilogy, though, over what they did in the prequels. Like, I'm not a huge prequel fan. I enjoy them, especially the duels. They're fucking phenomenal, those duels. But the story that the Thrawn trilogy poses for the Clone Wars is far better than the prequels or the Clone Wars TV show or anything like that. I was really fascinated by it, especially the idea that is able to be explored in a space fantasy setting that a traditional sci-fi or hard sci-fi setting would never be able to truly address. And that's one of the fundamental things about clones. A lot of people think in the modern era, even, that if we were able to successfully create a clone, what would the repercussions of that be? Like religious people are like, well, is it a different person? Is it like a twin situation, a identical twin where they each have their own different souls, spirits, and that's the person themselves? Or does the clone not truly get a soul? That's an interesting thing that's, religious people have had to wrestle with. And the Thrawn trilogy is able to approach that. The trilogy poses that the reason why clones were going so crazy, that they had all these psychological issues during the Clone Wars in this alternate events, was because of the Force. They were saying that the life essence of the original person was trying to have an influence over the clone body, and the clone body was going crazy as a result. So this idea of sharing a soul, and then when you stretch it into millions of clones, perhaps that soul can't handle being spread out over that much. So they need more and more time to slowly develop these clones so that they're prepared for that onslaught until Thrawn came along and used the Islamari to shield these clones from that until they reach maturity. It was really interesting that they were able to explore that. And that's the benefits of space fantasy. I know I talk about the different types of sci-fi a lot, especially recently, but none of that is to say that space fantasy is bad. Space fantasy has avenues that sci-fi can never really explore, and vice versa. And this was a great usage of the genre that I'm truly impressed with Timothy Zahn for exploring in such an interesting way. Ginger Norseman said, Dash said, NASA letting Bezos test more rockets, their insurance premiums are going to the moon for sure. Yeah, they haven't been able to repair that launch pad that the New Glenn rocket previously exploded at, so they moved them off to the Mississippi launch pad that I'm sure is out of the way, that they don't really care as much about, so they can blow it up to their heart's content. I didn't want to say that in the news segment, but that's what it felt like to me. Is NASA is like, oh yeah, we're dedicated to helping New Glenn get off the ground, but we're moving them to an out of the way location so they can't keep blowing up our Cape Canaveral ship. It's pretty funny in my opinion. Legatus 2 for 2. Who knows? We've got another test coming up in a few weeks, I think. It's still a little ways away from the next New Glenn test, but or at least maybe November. I think it might be November, but they have to get it off the ground before next year because the Artemis 3 mission is supposed to test out docking with the lunar lander. So you kind of need the lunar lander to be capable of getting into space for a test like that. Ginger, even with the OT movies, Star Wars was held up by Vader as its villain, rather than today with easily forgettable bad guys. Yes, people underestimate the importance of villains. Villains drive the story. Villains are often the most interesting. I know a lot of actors have said stuff like that where the villains get all the best lines and it's interesting. That's one reason why I can't put Stargate above other sci-fi franchises because I think the villains in Stargate suck. I love the characters of Stargate, the setting of Stargate, absolutely phenomenal. Love Stargate, but Apophis is shit. He's way too cheesy. The replicators never get enough development to truly be interesting. Anubis is comical at best. Ball, I can't stand Ball. I think the Wraith in Atlantis are a little bit better, but they still don't get the development they could, with the exception of Todd. Todd, for example, I think is a great character, but of course, as soon as someone's a good character in that franchise, they start not being a villain anymore. So, it is what it is, but villains are immensely important to a franchise, and their importance cannot be understated. Welcome in Algrim the Strong, saying a haughty hue Hail Mary Project Red Jed Redeemer. Welcome in Algrim. That's a great intro. I am alright being Project Red Jed Redeemer. Blessings in chat for Algrim. Welcome in. Dash, a clone has a soul unless it's ginger. Oh, is that it? Just make it ginger clones and we're all set. We're all good. Algrim, can't believe I was late. What a turd. You're all good, man. Dash, the short bus of launch pads, it kind of feels that way. It's like it almost feels like a punishment more than a reward of like we're gonna help you. It's not them coming in to protect them, lift them up, carry them across the finish line. It's like, oh, you blew up. Okay, you go play in the corner with your Jenga tower. It's okay. It's okay. Ginger, that's Dragon Lady's greeting. Just saying good evening. You're on the bus alone today, Algrim, with your Edward Dyer. You're never truly alone if you have Edward Dyer. You drink enough of it, and you'll see a few other people. Legatus, the Terminator has so few lines, yet is an awesome film. I don't know what precipitated that comment, but you're absolutely right. There are great characters that are not very well spoken or don't have a whole lot of dialogue. It's it's a matter of restraint when it comes to characters like that. You have to develop the character in a way that makes sense. Not every character can come out that way. Like not everyone should be limited dialogue, but characters like Terminator, like Kratos, these are characters that benefit from silence and they're performed by actors who are able to use that silence to their advantage. So that silence is a very powerful tool, just as much as dialogue itself. Algrim, I'm still hungover from my Doom catastrophe. How do you feel about the full the Comic Con stuff that we've been hearing about Doom, Algrim? Do those costumes make you feel any better? Some of the leaks, some of the stuff that they talked about at Comic Con, is any of that helping you feel better about the film or making it worse? The leaks, have you heard about the leaks of how those are all turning out? I'm just interested. I have no investment in Doomsday. As I've talked about a lot recently, I have superhero fatigue, entirely down to the bone superhero fatigue. It can be broken just like my Star Wars fatigue was recently just broken with the EU. But I don't even care about Spider-Man. I'm going to go see it. I'm probably going to have a fun time, but I'm not going to care. Like with Supergirl, I didn't care that it was bad. That's why I didn't make a review. I truly just didn't care. So the same thing's true with Doomsday. I'm not invested in being good or bad at this point, but I know you care about that character so very much. So I want to follow your journey as we learn more about this version of Doctor Doom and eventually the film coming out to see what your reception to what we hear is. I don't know if you plan on seeing it, but maybe when we hear how he's portrayed in the film, I'd just be fascinated to see because Doom is a character that I know virtually nothing about besides his portrayal in the like 2005 Fantastic Four film and the Fan Four Stick film, which are not great examples of Doctor Doom. I'm fully aware of that, but yeah, I'm not a comic book guy. I think that comes across in a lot of what I say and do. Comic books have never been a thing I was into. I've read maybe three in my entire life. It's just not a medium that appeals to me, and I didn't get into it as a kid, so I don't have that nostalgic appreciation for it either. Legatus, when are people going to be talking about the Spaceball cinematic universe? I saw them posting about it. They're going to be busy till 2147. I am warming to the idea of Spaceballs 2. I still don't think it's necessarily going to be good. I don't trust Josh Gad helming it, but their marketing campaign thus far has been great. They know their audience, they know the type of jokes that work, and they're leaning into it. They're making fun of contemporary sci-fi and fantasy. That's exactly what they should be doing. It's a parody film after all, and they've been taking enough shots at the powerful people like the MCU that I have confidence that they'll at least try to thumb their noses at the appropriate people. The only ones that I'm a little worried about is Disney, since Josh Gad is connected tightly to Disney from his Frozen career and a few other places that I don't know if the Star Wars films will be properly mocked. Marvel, they've been making fun of themselves enough recently, like with some of the stuff that Kevin Feige's been saying about the last few phases, that he has some leeway there that I expect him to make fun of the MCU. But I'm warming to it. I'm not sold on it one way or another, but I am warming to it. Legatus, Adam would love it. They have uh IIR's one phase with it nothing but time travel. Oh my god, do they have a time travel phase? That's gonna be awful. Algrim, they are pulling on my heartstrings. Doom's mask is mostly correct. Hooded cape is great, but as I wrote before, that medieval armor nonsense breaks me. I don't know if we talked about it, but with the leaks, the medieval armor does make sense with him being influenced by medieval styles, medieval armor, to set up him choosing to make Battle Worlds and Secret Wars medieval themed. So at least they have a reason for it. But yeah, I can totally understand why medieval influence might not make sense to you. And you went on to say that San Diego Comic Con trailer was much better, especially the ending, but he's not wearing that jingly armor. I haven't seen the Comic Con one yet, the leaks trailer. I didn't get a chance to see it. I can't react to it on stream, so I don't know what was in it. Hopefully, it's better, like you're saying. It sounds like it's at least better for people. It still doesn't matter to me if the film's good or not. Ginger, I'm conflicted whether I'm actually going to see Doomsday or not. I dislike the MCU with a passion now, but I love Doctor Doom too much that even the slightest bit of coolness will push me to buy tickets. I'm out on the MCU on a personal level, but because of this channel, because of the streams that I participate on, like Roundtable and Tryhards, I'm gonna have to see it. It's set in stone. Like I'm gonna go see Spider-Man, like I went to see Supergirl. I'm gonna go see Doomsday, and that's, it's an obligation at this point. It's not a matter of enjoyment for me. I think that film is going to be hot steamy nonsense, but it might be fun in some sections, especially the nostalgia of seeing the X-Men in their proper costumes. I i won't be surprised if people like it, but I don't think people will love it and remember it for years to come. Like Infinity War and the first Avengers have really stood the test of time. I don't think any of Phase 4, 5, or 6 has really, with the exception of Spider-Man No Way Home and maybe Guardians Volume 3. So I don't think Doomsday is going to stand the test of time. Dash, can't wait for the Schwartz Awakens. I really wish they would have called it that. I wanted them for years to call it that. The new one is kind of funny, playing with the whole endless reboot thing. But yeah, Schwartz Awakens would have been better than the new one, in my opinion, at least. Algrim, I have to stop now because I can't. I can chat Doom all night. Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it at all. Whatever you want to do. And you said to Ginger, that is the poll. Anything that is Doom centered gets to me, but I can't abide that armor. Legata said, Phase 2 or is it 6? 2033 yogurt Schwartz and all. 2035 Mog the Last Dog Standing. 2035 Heroes of Druidia Rogue Dumb. I need to actually look at that. I knew they put out that cinematic universe, but I didn't read anything in detail. And Dash said, I'm aggressively apathetic to the MCU. Apathy is the correct word for my feelings for it. I'm not angry at it. I don't want it to fail. I don't begrudge people for enjoying it. I just can't care anymore. 2036 Dot Matrix Reloaded. That would be a better film than the actual Matrix Reloaded film, I'm sure. Or what was the most recent one? Matrix. There was Revolutions, which was three, or yeah, there was three, two, and then what was four? The recent one. Was it Resurrection? I think it was Matrix Resurrection. And I didn't see that one. I've seen the other three. Never saw Resurrections because it looked like crap. It really did look like crap without Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving being in it properly. I really did not have any interest in it whatsoever. All right, we can talk about the next topic real quick. It's not going to be a hugely long one, but it is that box office related one with a little bit of Odyssey thrown in for fun. Legatus, Phase 4, we lost count. 2035, Spaceballs versus Spaceballs. 2038, Spaceballs versus Spaceballs versus Spaceballs. 2039, Spaceballs, enough is enough. 2040, Spaceballs, enough is never enough. You haven't seen 4 yet either, Ginger Norseman? Yeah, I doubt I will. Dash, there are only one Matrix movies. I agree. There's only one Matrix movie. There's only 3 Indiana Jones movies. There's only one Alien film. Fine, I'll say there's only 2 Alien films. And at least there is only 3 Back to the Future films right now. That is safe for the time being. I don't know how I'm going to feel about the upcoming, at least supposedly upcoming, Lethal Weapon 5. Maybe I'll say there's only 4 Lethal Weapons films. We'll have to see when that one eventually does come out. 2041, the Pizza the Hut anthology. God, I appreciate it. That's great. Making fun of the MCU is always something that I appreciate. Algrim, I'm this crazy dunce when it comes to Optimus Prime, my other hero as well. That's why I sit through the Bay films just to see Optimus killing Decepticons in the coolest ways, being Prime. Oh, I understand that. I think those are terrible films, but they're a hell of a lot of fun. I totally understand why people enjoy those films. I have lost interest. The Last Night was the last one I saw. I think Bumblebee is one of my favorites though because it actually tried to have a story. Yes, one is probably the most popular. One or two, from my understanding, are the most popular ones. But Bumblebee tried to have a story, so I enjoy a little bit more. And absolutely, I know why diehard fans hate this line, but it's one of the only times that I've liked John Cena in a film is when he said, uh, they're called Decepticons. Was that not a red flag for anyone? I just laugh at that. I think that's a great line. It doesn't make sense in the franchise. It kind of mocks the franchise, and I get that. From adaptation standpoint, not a great line. But for me, someone who doesn't care about the franchise, and that being one of the big reasons I don't because of how ridiculous it is, it appealed to me. Algrim, D4 is better than Lethal Weapon 5. D4. D4 is going to be compared to everything for a while. Ginger, can't wait for the re-release of the 86 movie in cinemas. Apparently, they're adding a deleted scene. Super hyped. I knew they were re-releasing the original one. I think it's being upscaled or remastered slightly. Not like a full remake or anything like that. It's just being upscaled, I think. I didn't know they were adding in deleted content. That's great. But yeah, let's dive into the next topic quickly. Spider-Man Brand New Day is only a few days away. I have my tickets. I had to get them a month ago to find a seat, and this is exactly why. Spider-Man Brand New Day is eyeing a historic 800 million worldwide opening weekend. That is a bonkers number. I can't truly wrap my head around it. That is apparently the second highest opening weekend of all time. And with its budget being reportedly, I believe, around $250 million, that means it's in profit opening weekend. That is just unheard of for the majority of films. And I am here for it. As I've talked about, I have a little bit of superhero fatigue, so I don't really care a whole lot about this film. But Tom Holland has been doing great on this press tour, talking to fans, supporting the source material, and just doing a hell of a great job marketing this film. So I hope it succeeds. I'm glad it's going to succeed. It's clearly going to. And I'm very curious to see how its opening weekend affects the Odyssey. Obviously, the Odyssey is very close to breaking even, probably will in the next week. But with an opening like this bombastic opening, that has to have an impact on the Odyssey. It's still going to break even. It's still going to do exceptionally well. But how much of the pie a box office can truly be left over after an opening weekend like this? But while we're talking about the Odyssey, I wanted to briefly talk a little bit more about Emily Wilson. For those of you who don't remember, Emily Wilson is the woman who penned one of the most divisive translations of the Odyssey in recent memory. I've been quite hard on her translation in the past. I'm not a fan of how she removed so much of the poetic language from it and added in current day political things like calling Odysseus a colonist. But last week, she came out against the film a little bit, saying she wasn't a fan of it, and I gave her points for that. But she's clarified those points, and I just have to say, perhaps I treated her too harshly. As of right now, the Odyssey translator Emily Wilson has slammed Christopher Nolan's abysmal screenplay. I would be ashamed to have written any part of this script. I figured that what we heard last week was the most that we would hear from her because it was still marketing friendly. It wasn't coming out completely against the film. It was just saying, I don't agree with all the decisions, which is an acceptable thing to say while not going after the film and being overall negative. But these additional thoughts make me actually kind of like her. I want to read through her direct comments here. She said, Nolan's Odyssey lacks many of the elements that made the poem great. I have been saying this. It's absolutely true. The heart, the mythology, the message, the morality, it's all gone and replaced with what I do not deem as good storytelling. It has nothing convincing to say about time, memory, history, war, or about the relationship between one warrior's glorious return and the lives of his family, adversaries, comrades, friends, and neighbors. It lacks psychological, emotional, political, and ethical depth. I don't think you need to add in that political because it shouldn't have at least modern day political depth, but the rest is spot on. Its narrative structure is gimmicky. Absolutely. The writing is abysmal. None of the characters have convincing motivations for their actions or words. Matt Damon's whole arc is maybe we should have respected the law of Zeus and now we're really bad people. The moment he finally accepts that about himself, he goes to break the law of Zeus again. Doesn't make any sense. None of the characters have convincing motivations for their actions or words. I just needed to read that again because it is absolutely true. This last part is just funny. There are no sex scenes and all the food looks horrible. I didn't pay any attention to the food. That was not something I talked about, but the Odyssey is a nudity heavy film. There needs to be sex in it between Odysseus and Circe, Odysseus and Calypso, if nothing else. To have that removed changes the story in immense ways. What's left behind pales in comparison to the original source material. The food comment is just wild. She added on a little bit more here, saying uh, she she had actually initially sung the praises of the film during the press tour, telling Empire magazine that he used the opening line of her translation, Tell Me About a Complicated Man, as a guide for bringing his Odysseus, Matt Damon, to life on the big screen. This is one thing that I absolutely hate about her translation and the film. She was right. Tell Me About a Complicated Man was the perspective that Nolan took on the Odyssey, removing the glorious aspects of him, the man of twists and turns, reducing him to a villainous character. His film portrays Odysseus as a villainous man. And from what I understand of Emily Wilson's, hers does to a certain extent as well. To have her calling out that aspect of it now is surprising considering she was happy about it prior to seeing the film. She concluded by saying, I would be ashamed to have written any part of this script. I too would be ashamed if I had been connected to this film in any way, shape, or form. I don't care that it's making money. Money does not equal quality. We've seen Avatar films blow away the box office. Saying that because it's making money means it's good is actually a logical fallacy. They appeal to consensus logical fallacy. My opinions don't change based on how successful the film is. My opinions on normies and my evaluations of normies are absolutely wrong. My prediction of the film being a little disappointing at the box office, absolutely untrue. But my opinions of the film don't change because of its success. And just like the Avatar films, I do think that this film will blow up, be super remembered for the next year or so, and then ultimately be forgotten. How many people can tell you what happened in Avatar 2, let alone Avatar 3? Those films were $2 billion at the box office, some of the highest grossing films of all time, yet they win in one year and out the other. And that's how I think the Odyssey will turn out in the end. And it seems like even modern day academics who I don't hold a whole lot of respect for, like Emily Wilson, are having similar opinions about the film. She eviscerated him. That was hilarious. I love that she waded in like that. I expected nothing more from her than we got last week, and she dove in head first. Dash said Homer knew sex sells, but apparently the box office says Christopher Nolan knows better. Yeah, that seems to be the case, as Nolan knows better than everyone who's ever lived. Legatus. So let me understand this. They removed the heterosexual sex scenes because they could not make them into queer. I don't know if that's why. Isn't that a good thing then? Yeah, I don't know why they removed the sex scenes. Probably for feminist reasons. Who knows? He probably didn't want them in the film because he couldn't make them work like the nobody stuff. But I think you needed that aspect of it. Cersei's entire character is different, and we're supposed to sympathize with her, and she's torturing, killing dozens of men who have done nothing to her, and even more so from previous, and she's trapped her sister as a crow, but she actually cares about her sister. She's a villain. She's portrayed as a villain in the film, but it's contradicted by the film telling me I should sympathize with her. Same thing with Polyphemus. A lot of people are trying to have sympathy for him because he's portrayed like a dumb baby. That's what the Nolan fans are saying is, oh yeah, he just dumb baby. Look how bad Odysseus is for stabbing dumb baby. This isn't the Odyssey. I can't believe this is where we're at. Ginger Norseman, best thing in the Avatar series is just Quaritch, a good bad guy in terrible film series. Yeah, he was 100% right, at least in the first film. I don't know what his portrayal is like in the third one, but at least in the first film, he did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. And yes, Dash, you're absolutely correct. Nolan said the story was too misogynistic and grim, specifically the ending. It looks like he was talking about killing the slave girls. Very specifically said that was too misogynistic. But the thing is, it wasn't just the women that were killed by Telemachus. It was everyone who was party to the suitors' plots. It was all of them, men and women alike. So that's actually not misogynistic. That is equal opportunity punishment. So they made it sexist by sparing the slave girls. Now, the Nolanites are going after people who are like, what happened to Mia Goth? We didn't see her die or anything like that. The Nolanites are like, you're so stupid. She was locked in the room with Odysseus. Clearly she's dead now. Then Odysseus comes out and said, it would have been really misogynistic to kill the slave girls. Yeah, they keep getting proved wrong, these Nolanites who were supposedly intellectuals. And again, as a preface, I love a lot of Nolan's films, especially Interstellar, Inception, and Prestige. Those are three of my favorite movies of all time. But his fan base is not one that I'm proud to be a part of, especially now with this film. Dash the it was gender agnostic. Exactly. The book was gender agnostic. Isn't that what they want? Oh no, that's right. They want preferential treatment. Isn't that how it always goes? All right. Well, we have one other topic that's not going to be a huge one either, probably about the same length as that Odyssey Spider-Man one. So, as I get ready to gear it up, we're not going to go straight into it, but as I get ready to pull it up, I want you guys to think about how we feeling about Chat Choose Your Own Adventure this week. We didn't do it last week. Algorithm the Strong was very generous last week, so if he wants to apply any of those super chats from last week to this week, he's more than welcome to, absolutely. But everyone, just think about it. Are we in the mood for delving into a new story? The creative juices, are they flowing? How are we all feeling about that? So just keep that in the back of your mind, and I'll of course go with whatever you guys are feeling. If you're not in the mood, absolutely, that's great. If you guys are in the mood, we'll come up with something crazy, crazy as ever. I didn't have a whole lot of news today. That Spider-Man Odyssey one was a surprise. I hadn't intended on talking about it. It wasn't in my saved next live section that I have, but luckily I was able to find it. Besides that and this last one, I don't have anything more to make Dash choose. Is Dash going to be the one to decide this week? Oh, I forgot to say this in the Spider-Man section. Someone pointed out that Brand New Day in its opening weekend will outgross the entire box office run of the entire DC universe under James Gunn. That's hilarious. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot to mention that. I laughed so hard when I saw that because yeah, I'd much rather Spider-Man win, especially a Spider-Man film that looks good like this one to beat out the DCU. Clayface isn't going to touch that. It's not going to be until Man of Tomorrow, 4 films in that they'll be able to make more money than Spider-Man No Way Home did in 4 days. In 4 days. Legata said, "Is Jed trying to get out of writing the story as it was outlined from last week? What was the story outlined as last week? We didn't start the story last week, Legatus. We didn't do it at all last week. Talking about the week before, we already did the probing, so I'm not sure what you're referring to, Legatus. There's nothing I'm trying to get out of. Dash, he's falling under the pressure. Let's drop some blessings in the chat for Dash to help him make this decision. Ginger Norseman, incredible, incredible, absolutely. It's impressive. But yeah, you've got this, Dash. We'll let you make the decision. You always come up with some crazy stuff for the streams as well. I don't know if you guys heard, but Michael Shanks is actually going to be doing a Stargate podcast with a YouTuber, not just like one of those celebrity ones that a lot of have been doing, like rewatches of Smallville or anything like that. He's doing his actual podcast with a real YouTuber. I need to check it out when it starts. I don't know when it does necessarily. I don't know. Maybe he'll be good YouTube. Be interesting to see. Thank you, Ginger Norseman. Yes, blessings for Dash. And this article that I have pulled up is bright as hell. I'm just looking at my my screen. Let me turn on dark mode with this so it's not as insane as I switch over to it back and forth. But as you guys think about it, we can do this last topic really quickly. Talk about the incredible SpaceX launch. Starship version 3's second test flight went underway recently, and it was a resounding success. Yes, they initially had to push it back due to some engine trouble, and I believe I heard something about a couple of the smaller engines going down, the thrusters going down at launch, but they made it up. Everything was fine. They were able to deploy the satellites that they intended on. But the real surprise was when Starship's mega rocket made the softest splashdown ever after launching next-gen Starlink satellites in Flight 13 test video. As we've gone over with the other SpaceX reactions that we've done of like the version 3's first test flight from about a month ago, when they splash down in the ocean, they explode. That's what's happened every time before this. Somehow, miraculously, the Starship did not blow up. It is safe and recoverable. They recovered it from a splashdown landing that has yet to have been done before now, which is a really good sign of their control over it for how soft the landing was and the resiliency of the rocket itself. And to come after in the wake of such an impressive achievement by Elon Musk and the Starship team, SpaceX says the next Starship mission will be a test flight to catch the Starship module with the tower. So we're finally getting into the test to catch Starship and make it reusable again. Once these tests go through, and if they're successful, we will have nearly a complete reusable rocket from both boosters to the main module itself. It's an incredible time to be an astronomy and space travel fan. SpaceX absolutely killed it this last week. I'm very happy to see everything went so well and to be surprised by such good positive news like a splashdown that didn't explode. For the first time in 4.5 billion years, life has a real chance to become multi-planetary. Maybe it's time. I believe it is time. Starship is legitimately paving the way for humans to set foot on Mars in the very near future, and who knows what planetary body, what celestial body may come after that. Perhaps the Jovian moons, perhaps an orbiting station of Venus, though that would be quite difficult to achieve. But if this is all turning out to be successful, reusable, and reliable over the course of the Artemis missions, all of this is possible. Anything is on the table now that Starship is doing so extraordinarily well. I thought that would go for a little bit longer, but yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about with that. Just, hey, it's Splashdown, great. and they're gonna try to catch it next time. I think it's awesome. I think it's absolutely incredible. I'm excited to see the next launch. If all goes well, hopefully I'll be able to live stream react to it next time and catch the tower catch on stream. That would be incredible. A stroke of luck for Starship Splashdown to offset the booster failing. Relight again. Yeah, was that the problem? There's always going to be something wrong, but hopefully they'll be able to fix that booster issue that they've been struggling with for a while now. At least there's some positive news. I think failure is one of the greatest teachers out there. With this booster stuff, though, it's been going for a little while. They can figure it out, though. I believe in them. I believe that they can figure it out. I was shocked though when I first heard that this thing had survived splashdown. Such a gentle landing. It might open up the possibility of doing stuff like that intentionally if they know what worked for it. Algrim, Jed, what's the cost of the Starship alone? I can look that up. Starship um cost. Uh, I don't know what per assuming loss. Start no, so the entire development cost is at 15 billion, but let me see one Starship cost. Yeah, how much does an individual one cost? It's obviously not 15 billion for each. How much does one Starship cost? Stop saying 15 billion. I know that's for the entire thing. All right. It looks like 90 million. 90 million per, and this was the first time that they were able to recover it. So that's 90 million that they could reuse, recycle, and get back some of that money. Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why Starship is so important is because of that reusability that they're trying to go for with the tower catches. Because space travel is ridiculously expensive, not nearly as expensive as a lot of things the government paid for. People see the rockets and they're like, oh my God, government's wasting taxpayer money on NASA, but NASA's budget is infantile compared to a lot of other government budgets. It's incredible what they're able to do with the budget that they're given, to be honest. But once we have reusability down, we can keep long-term costs down. Even if Starship costs more than, say, an Orion or rocket, no, it's not the Orion rocket, the SLS rocket that Artemis 2 used, we get to use Starship again once it's up and running. So upfront cost might be a little higher, but in the long term, the cost is a lot lower. And SpaceX is not spending taxpayer money on this. Sure, they have contracts with NASA to do stuff for NASA, but that's an exchange of goods that they are providing to NASA. So it's not like NASA is just giving them free money from taxpayers or anything like that. So I kind of prefer it to be in private hands than in government hands. I really think space travel should be for everyone. So I love that we're in this era of commercial space flight and NASA's still killing it. I think NASA's doing great the last few years, especially with Jared Isaacman at the helm. So I think both routes should be explored. With China advancing to the degree that they are, they caught a rocket recently with a net in the ocean, which is a weird idea, but they were successfully able to do it. They have a space station in orbit that's been up there for about 4 years. Their whole space program is not nearly to the same level as SpaceX, NASA, and the American side, but it is coming up closer. I don't know if anybody saw. I want to show this picture. Let me see if I can. The Chinese uh, rocket. Yep, there it is. This is an incredible photo that the Chinese space state or space program was able to catch. They launched one of their rockets and it was struck by lightning because they didn't care about launching it in a storm like NASA avoids. Like it's a bad idea that they did this, in my opinion. They made it to orbit though. They got done what they needed to do. It was successful, but it's a huge risk. It's still a beautiful photo though. Like that is really cool to see it just pass right through the rocket like that. That's really cool. As much as I don't want China to win the space race, I think space travel and the advancement of science across the board is good for humanity, no matter who's doing it, as long as they're not abusing, obviously. Any science that abused is a bad thing. but until it's being abused, stuff like this is great that they're doing it as well. And yeah, this is just an incredible set of photos that they have from that lightning strike. Dash said, recent explosive diarrhea parasite outbreak is a genetically engineered conspiracy to modify humans to survive the extreme heat of global warming without AC, subject to dice changes. That conspiracy doesn't make much sense, in my opinion, because how could explosive diarrhea help you through heat? That's a wild one, Dash. I haven't heard that conspiracy theory quite yet. That's you know, surprisingly not that crazy compared to the other conspiracy theories out there, but that is an interesting one. Legatus, with the reusability and safe landing, and with word they can make fuel on Mars, having a rocket that they can use to escape return if things go wrong. Yes, you definitely want something that you can return quickly with. And Mars making fuel, if they do go the helium-5 route, they're gonna have trouble. Like, it's gonna take time. They can't immediately make enough fuel to escape Martian orbit and come home, but it's gonna be a great tool for them if they are able to figure out how to manufacture fuel on Mars and get Starship into that position to do so. Same thing that they're trying to plan with the moon and the moon base there. With the water discovered at the South Pole, the elements are all there to make helium-5 as well. So that'll be great. That'll be absolutely great to see them reusability and finding fuel as they go, because that's a big thing. Is spaceships are restricted on the size of load that they can carry based on the fuel that they can carry. And the more fuel you carry, the less load you can carry. And there's a law of diminishing returns when it comes to that. If you can make fuel at the destination, that'll greatly improve the efficiency of space travel as well. Algrim, that's a winner or a loser depending on the Gusterio guest Gusco. Damn. Alagadas, considering the new technology such R&D creates, as in everyday use too, absolutely. Space travel has provided so many important pieces of technology that we use on a daily basis, like the microwave, like a CT scan device. Those are all things that were developed because of space travel. Even Velcro is a result of the space program. Space travel propels us to face new challenges, to come up with new solutions for those challenges. And when those solutions are eventually made, they realize, hey, this can be used to solve this problem as well, and they make it available to the public. I I think NASA could be funded by these inventions themselves, and I to help subsidize their budgets. So there's endless support for backing financially space programs. Too many people are short-sighted, in my opinion, to see just the price tag and not take into account anything else surrounding that. That they're just like, yeah, NASA shouldn't have the big budget they have. What's in space? Or they're flat earthers and like, oh my god, it's just a dome, or their moon landing denies, and they're like, "We've never gone to the moon. It's all fake." Blah 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 blah. They can't see past that initial price tag and their disbelief to realize how much humanity has benefited in the last, what is it, 70 years from the various space programs around the world. We should keep exploring space for as long as we're physically able to make us interplanetary, which makes us immortal, or at least closer to being immortal, and it benefits us every single step of the way. Algrim, Thor doesn't like the Chinese, apparently. No, Thor intervened, struck him down. If you're a Stargate fan, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe the Asgard are, they have a contract with the SGC to stop any other space programs from advancing properly. Dash, or perhaps IMAX was actually a brainwashing technology all along to indoctrinate the population as Holly weird lizard people choose. I hate that you're making these up for fun because they're so believable as actual conspiracy theories. Obviously, they're not believable in any sort of logical sense, but I can believe that these crazy conspiracies theorists believe this type of stuff. It's like the Babylon Bee. It's not parody anymore, or the Onion. It's just, how can you make parody when the world is this stupid? The parasite is just the contagious vector to introduce mRNA. The back tacos are coming for us. Algrim, now you see what happens when I turn all creative control over to the defoliator. He's always come up with something crazy. Blame me for that outcome. I'll be on the bus again. Dash said Elon tweeted recently civilizations die when they lose hope, and space travel is the hope for humanity. That's such a great statement from him because, yeah, it gives us hope. It gives us something to look up and believe in. I do believe that exploration is good for the soul. That's why I'm so enthralled with the Western era, Western expansion in American history, or the exploration of the oceans in centuries before that because exploration, the human drive to know and see more, is a powerful motivator that gives a lot of life meaning. And we come up with all these incredible inventions. We see all these beautiful things. And right now, space is the final frontier. It is a frontier of exploration that will never diminish for us. We can explore space for the rest of the lifespan of the universe, and it continually can be our source of hope. It's not just about surviving a coming apocalypse. Like if an asteroid comes to Earth and threatens to wipe out Earth, if we have colonies on other worlds that are self sustaining, that means humanity is immortal. That's a great aspect of it, and that gives us hope as well. But it helps us find our place in the universe. It helps us understand the universe. When you just look up and you realize how vast everything is, how undescribably huge the universe is, we can feel small and insignificant. But the more we explore, the more we understand, more that we study, we can find out how important we are to the universe and what makes the universe tick. And that's a beautiful thing. That's why I love a quote from Brian Cox. I'm going to butcher it, but the essential aspect of it is as far as we know, we're the only self aware species in the universe. That, of course, just as we know, we have not met any others. So, from the knowledge that we absolutely have now, we are the only self aware species. And the idea of meaning is a byproduct of consciousness, of self awareness. So, if we were to become extinct, if we were to wipe ourselves out and humanity would become a archaeological fact of Earth, lost in the barren wasteland of Earth, meaning itself is extinguished. So that makes me feel important. That makes our species feel important to me. We can't let that go because if we are truly the only sentient species in the universe, then what's the point of the universe if there's no one there to see it? Is something beautiful if it's never beheld? If we go out, if we die, the universe may cease to be beautiful. And that's a tragedy. That's a huge tragedy to me. I waxed a little too poetic there. I apologize if that turned anybody off, but I get passionate about this stuff. Legatus, NASA is already partially funded by the reverse engineering of all the alien tech they studied in Area 51. As soon as there's evidence for that, I could absolutely believe that. So civilizations also die from defoliation. Rainforests are overrated. Damn, Dash. Taking out the rainforest now. We got to keep them out of Brazil. There is a little bit of other news. It's not really worth talking about in great detail, but apparently the star of Obsession, the guy who played Bear, is in talks to star in the new Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. That's an interesting choice. And there's a new Air Bud movie. Of course, there's a new Air Bud movie. But I really loved Obsession. I love the Mummy movies. So that's gonna be a great film. At least I hope it's gonna be great. They're putting together a great team so far, so I have hope for it. I have hope for it. Dash Brazil is one of my favorite Christmas movies. I haven't seen any Christmas movie named Brazil. I don't know about that one. But yeah, you're probably going there to get new Christmas trees, Dash. Defoliate, deforest anything that you need to come across. All right. We got to the hour mark. We're at the hour mark. So, and that's the end of all the topics that I have for this evening. Dash and everybody else who is in the chat, have you guys decided if you're interested in a chat choose your own adventure segment today? It's all right if you're not. If you guys aren't feeling it, we don't want to force it because when we force it, nobody has a good time and the story isn't a good story at the end of the day. So it's purely up to you guys. If you guys are in the mood for it, we'll absolutely knock it out. If not, we'll save it for another week. What is that 90 million? I was just seeing something from. Oh, it's from the week. Okay, so the weekend, the Odyssey made 90 million. Someone was just bragging about 90 million. I was like, where does it say 90 million? It didn't make that much in a day, but no, yes, in the 3-day weekend, it did make 90 million, which was only a 27% drop. That's insane. All right, that is insane. The opening weekend was good, respectable, but not this record-breaking nonsense that people were talking about because of how big the budget was. It wasn't that big, but that second week drop off, that's the record-breaking shit. That's the impressive stuff. That 27%, that 90 million in second weekend, that's the thing that people should be talking more about. But they're still focused on, oh my god, biggest Christopher Nolan opening weekend, blah 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 blah. No, you need to be talking about that drop off. If you want to brag about something that's actually incredibly special and I'm blown away by, talk about that. But these Nolanites are not focusing on the stuff that they should be focusing on. They're too busy attacking people and calling each other names. Ugh. I'm not seeing anything from the chat. If the chat doesn't have an opinion, we don't need to do chat choose an adventure. Because yeah, if you guys have zero opinion on it, then we don't need to do it. If you don't have an opinion, that's essentially a no in my book. But Dash, I already broke a mental sweat conjuring butt parasites. Yikes. So Dash is tapped out. It sounds like Algrim's tapped out. So we not feeling chat choose your own adventure this evening? You not feeling it? Let me see if anybody else is live while you guys think about it. Give us the categories. We'd have to roll the dice for the categories, Legatus, and that we'd already be started then. So you're already saying, so yeah, Legatus. If we start rolling the dice, that's essentially doing chat choose your own adventure. So it sounds like Legatus is voting for it. In that case, Dash is voting against. Algrim is voting against. Maybe not against is the right word. We'll vote for hold. They're voting to hold. Legatus is voting to go. You're on the bus already. Legatus is driving. Dash is fine either way. Since you have added changed out choices. So the genre is all this game. I can show you guys real quick. If we decide to do it, I'll still do the plotter ad and come in strong with it. But yeah, the genre is always the same. The lead character, we have father, billionaire, filmmaker, hero, monster hunter. The setting's always the same. In theme or style, we have passing the torch, exploration, grief, catharsis, acceptance, and chat choice. Wild card, we have nuke, bunny ears, fridge, nails, and narwhal. Most of the things that we came up with on the last chat choose your own adventure were unique things that were added by super chats. So we haven't changed out really any of these in a little while because we haven't used any of them in a little while. So it doesn't seem like you guys are particularly motivated to, and we're dwindling in viewership a little bit. So unless someone has strong opinions on it, it looks like we're gonna hold this off for another week. While you guys think about that for the last little bit before I make the decision. Let me see what is going on YouTube to see if I can find anyone to raid into. I'm not seeing Jeremy live, not seeing Adam live, and Mahler does not need my help with a raid. Damn. Yeah, he does not need my help. He's playing Halo Campaign Evolved. I thought that didn't come out for another few days, but yeah, I wonder what people are thinking about that. I've never been a Halo fan. I I played the campaign of Halo 4, and I enjoyed it well enough. This was a long time ago that I played that, and I tried the Master Chief Collection, the first game, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it much at all. I I just missed the ball on that. I'm not a first person shooter player, so that's always an aspect of it as well. But I don't have the nostalgia for it. Campaign Evolved, if it had really been incredible, I might have checked it out. So we'll have to see what people's reactions are to it. I've seen a few things that people aren't happy with, like a few cutscenes look really weird. but I'm going to be paying attention to what I'm not Algrim, Mahler, and everyone in the chat thinks about it. Legatus, 2 weeks without this. This is getting into a bad habit. It's entirely up to you guys. Dash, the parasite infection will only grow stronger the faster Jed runs from it. Do we want to do a parasite infection or try to do a parasite infection story? God, I don't know if we need any more parasites out in the world. We went from probing to shitting. That is a logical progression, to be fair. To be absolutely fair, that does make sense. Uh, Algrim, is blue your favorite color, Jed? I just noticed all the blue. Yes, there is a lot of blue. And I'm wearing a blue shirt as well, apparently. None of this is blue because blue is my favorite color, but yes, a TARDIS blue is my favorite color. So at least the TARDIS is partially there for my favorite color, but everything else is not there because of that. There was no thought put into it being blue. I'm not some chick who's like, I like blue. Let me put blue on everything. It's a happy coincidence. We'll call it that. But yes, blue is my favorite color. Algrim, you see where my mind is at? Yeah, Algrim is having fun. Just he's riding his bus, guys. He's riding his bus. Legato, so instead of a face hugger, it's a butt hugger. Oh God, that's Dermy's back taco ness for you there. But all right, I'm gonna make the decision. Veto. We're gonna hold off doing chat choose your adventure for another week and see how everyone's doing next week. And that brings us to the end of this right or flight stream. You Jedi Knight, you. We'll go with that. Yeah, Jedi Knight. It's my blue lightsaber color. We'll go with that. Absolutely. But yeah, like I said, this brings it to an end. What I have coming up, I will not probably be streaming a video game for the next few days, at least until probably Saturday, because on my normal gaming night, which is Thursday, I'm going to be going to see Spider-Man Brand New Day. If I have thoughts on it, I'll probably put out a review sometime Friday. We'll see how all that turns out. Maybe will, maybe won't. It might be a Saturday review as well because I do work on Friday this time around. So I'll do the best that I can for a Spider-Man review. If I have thoughts worth saying, it might just be such a nothing burger that I have no thoughts on it. But that's coming up. Maybe some gaming on Saturday. And of course, on Saturday for Saturday Night Drive-In at 6 p.m. Eastern, Adam and I are going to be talking about arguably, and I think well consensusly, the best Spider-Man film, Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire from Sam Raimi. Should be a great discussion. It is a great film. Then, of course, Roundtable on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern and right around back Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern for the next Right or Flight podcast. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me this evening. Thanks you to Dash, Algrim, Legatus, Ginger Norseman, and everybody else who was chatting or lurking. I greatly appreciate it. Yes, the bat tacos and the TARDIS, those are members emojis that if you join and be a member at any level on the YouTube side, you can get access to all of those emojis. If you enjoyed this stream, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. The more support this channel gets, the closer we are to publishing the Endless Frontier novels. Until then, have a stellar day and stay curious.